My name is Trent Jones. I've been at Pantex for 24 years. I'm a production manager on the production line. I currently manage the B61 crew and the W78. I've been an auctioneer right at 6 years. I've always been interested in auctions. I've been to many auctions, and I had an individual, good friend from church that has an auction company in town, and he influenced me to go to auction school, and I went.
All right, here we go. Somebody are starting at 500, 500, 500. Thank you. Now 666 in the bid on 600. 666 in the bid on 6. 500. Now 6.5, 6.5 in the bid on 6.5, 6.5, 6.5 in the 700. Now 750, 750. Now
Auctioneering school. There's one auction school in the state of Texas. It's in Dallas, Texas. There's a few others in the United States. You have to have 80 hours of classroom instruction. Every year I have to do 6 hours of continuing education because I am licensed by the state of Texas. So that's a requirement to keep your license every year. To be a good auctioneer, you need to first memorize your numbers, and then there's filler words that you put in between the numbers. I've driven down the road selling telephone poles as I pass by. So the warm-up process, there's a well-known one. It's called Betty bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it won't make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter batter, made her bitter batter. So 'tis Betty bought a bit of butter. All right, let's do it fast. Here we go. Betty bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it won't make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter batter, made her bitter batter. So 'tis Betty bought a bit of better butter. And there was a piece of art that I sold at auction, and let's say I didn't do my due diligence and sold that picture for $100, and the buyer went to Christie's in New York City and sold that picture for $120,000, for example, I would be liable for that. A lot of auctioneers are actually appraisers as well, so there's a lot of homework that goes into getting ready to do an auction, a lot of footwork. An auctioneer owes a fiduciary duty to the seller. It's an auctioneer's duty to do his or her best to bring market value to the products they're selling. I've auctioned off a little bit of everything. I've done some horse sales. I've auctioned off horses, jewelry, rare coins. I auctioned off an antique Mustang convertible. I believe it brought about $22,000. Auctioning, running your mouth and bid calling is the easy part. The hard part is getting ready for an auction. I've been to some auctions before that you start at auctioneering and nobody's raising their hand. You're like, oh my God, this is gonna be a bloodbath. But you just have to work at getting the crowd going, and eventually they'll give in. On the program I'm in, we conduct tours down in the South End, so I do have to talk in front of a crowd, and I have to do the same thing with auctioneering. In every auction, there's people that you're counting on. The clerk is the one that's taking all your numbers down, remembering what you said, because a lot of times I don't remember what I said, and I have to rely on the clerk. Also, your ringman and your other auctioneers that you work with. We're a pretty tight-knit group, and once you've worked together a few times, we develop a pretty good camaraderie, and a lot of teamwork goes into the auction business. Same thing at Pantex. Pantex has been really good to me, so I do want to give back to the community. We did a benefit auction for the youth, and we were able to raise the amount of funds needed for every kid to go to camp that year. The kids actually helped me do the groundwork, and they actually made paddles for the numbers, bidder numbers, and it's about serving others. If we can always give back and do for others, to me, that's the most important thing.
7.5, now put him on 7.5. I got him back there at 700. I'm looking for 750. 750, 750. Now put him on 750. So, $700 to better number.
My name is Trent Jones. I'm a licensed auctioneer with the state of Texas, and I'm proud to be a Pantexan.